So have you ever thought about what happens to my estate because I have a blended family? My name is Leon Jones Jr., and I'm an estate planning and business lawyer who help individuals, families, and businesses protect the assets that they've built. And so I get this question all the time. What happens in a blended family situation with my estate? And so I have about 3 or 4 things that I want to share with you today as it relates to a blended family and your estate plan. Number one, when you have been married for a period of time, or you may not be married, but just have children from different people with different people, then there's an estate plan situation that could arise. And here's what I mean by that. So you have a spouse and you guys have been married, and then one of 2 things happens. Well, the spouse could pass away prematurely. And so the children that you guys have had together, the 1 or 2 children you have together, now you are the sole breadwinner, they're sole dependent. And so, or you've been married and you guys unfortunately get a divorce after a few years, but you have a couple of kids. And now you have this situation where you have a couple of kids, you're single again, and what do you do with your estate plan? Well, that's a question. But what we're going to talk about today is the blended family situation. And so, like I said, maybe your spouse unfortunately passed away, or you guys got a divorce, and now you have these children that are your care, and now you meet someone and you want to spend the rest of your life with them. They have children. And so now you come together and it's a blended family situation. And so now, instead of just your 2 children, there are an additional 2 or 3 children. And so now there's a household where you have mom and dad, and you have sister, brother, sister. And so there's 5 kids, there's 2 parents, and there's a lot going on. But in the back of your mind, hey, this is a blended family situation. How do I protect everybody that's involved? So let's kind of go through the steps. Number 1, thinking about your kids, your new spouse's children, and the situation with your former spouse. One of the things you have to do immediately upon entering into that new relationship, that the blended family relationship, is think about, did I create a will and a trust when I was in my former relationship? Did I sign a healthcare directive when I was in my former relationship? Think about the documents that you signed, that you put in place in that former relationship, and make sure you go back and revisit those documents. Make sure you go back and update them. Your will that you wrote 15 years ago when you and your first spouse were married, newly married, that will needs to be updated. That trust needs to be updated. That healthcare directive needs to be updated, because you don't want to put yourself in a situation where you hadn't updated it, and then 15 years from now, in the unfortunate event that you become incapacitated or die away prematurely, then that will still stands. And so now your kids and your new spouse has to go through probate to get all of that stuff taken care of. So that's the first thing. Make sure that you look at the documents that you've had in place before and make sure that those documents are updated. Number 2, what assets do you want to leave to your biological children, and what assets do you want to leave for your new spouse's biological children? So you and the spouse have to have that communication. And also, what assets are your former spouse leaving to your biological children that may conflict or may appreciate or complement? And so there could be a conflict in that, and there could be a complement in that. And here's what I mean by that. Let's say that you and the former spouse bought 2 houses together, and you decide to rent those houses out. And in the divorce, you decided, you know what, they're rental properties. We have our own property. We're going to keep those rental properties. We're going to put them in an entity, and we're going to collect the rents, and we're going to split those rents. And we're going to take those rents, put them into a fund for our children so it can help pay for their college, whatever the case may be. Doesn't really matter. The point being is that, what are you going to do with those assets upon your death, right? Because as you're collecting those rents, now the rents that you're collecting, let's say from June 1 when you got remarried, those are rents that are now could be community property within your current marriage. So what do you do with those? So you got to think about that. And then number 3, plan for situations with your life insurance. Again, it goes back to what I said before. if you put documents in place 15, 20, 30 years ago and you haven't updated them, who are your beneficiaries? Because your current spouse, in your unfortunate or untimely death, would want to be the beneficiary of your life insurance. Well, but if you had a life insurance policy from 25 years ago and that policy has been you've been paying the premiums on it, but you never looked at it and you never changed the beneficiaries, then guess what? Whomever the beneficiaries were 25 years ago will get access to those funds. And then there you go, your current spouse is now in a probate action trying to make sure that they get what is due them. And so those are the top 3 reasons why you should, in a blended family situation, get an estate plan or look at your estate plan and make sure it's up to date. You know, and I got a little anecdote that I want to add to this. I just saw where Nick Cannon is having his 9th or 10th child. I can't keep up. He has too many. But his situation is similar to what I've been talking about, because he has more than one mother for his biological children, those 9 biological or 10 biological children. And so he has to think about how are his assets going to be divided up. And in the event one day he decides to get married, or he may be married to this the mother of the current child that's being born or has been born, what is he going to do for the children of his former the mothers, for those children, for the mothers? You get what I'm saying. Anyway, and so what is going to happen if and when Nick Cannon becomes incapacitated or passes away prematurely? What's going to happen to his assets? So he has to look at his estate plan in a blended family situation. And so that's a perfect situation. I don't know, I'm sure Nick Cannon has all his ducks in a row, but do you have all your ducks in a row? That's the question. So anyway, I'm Leon Jones Jr. I'm an estate planning and business attorney, helping people, individuals, and businesses protect their assets that they've built. If you like this video, click the like button. If you want to know more about what I do and the topics that I talk about, hit the subscribe button. And I would like for you to click the button, book a call with us so we can explain more about what we do, so we can get to know you, your family, your business, your situation, so we can try to provide the best help that you can get. Take care.